Hi, we're Chelsea and Tony Northrup, and we admit we love taking pictures of osprey. So today we want to challenge you to take pictures of osprey as well, even if you've never taken wildlife photos, and we're going to walk you through how to do that.
One of my favorite things about wildlife photography is that it develops an appreciation for wildlife. Even if what you're really into is more photography, you'll soon find yourself becoming an encyclopedia of facts about animals. Like the first time I took a picture of an osprey, I didn't know what it was. But now I know that during the 1950s, 60s, 70s, the use of pesticides just about made them extinct because it made their shells very thin. As the world started to develop the coastline and turn it into housing with a nice view, they lost the places that they were nesting. We reversed this as humanity by outlawing the use of those pesticides and by putting up a lot of man-made nests that gave them a place to live. Those nests are now largely documented, so you can look up where they nest and go take pictures of them.
Yay! The most important thing to know is where you can find osprey, and luckily this beautiful species lives all over the world, but they're a migrating bird, so you'll have to check out when they're in your area. For us, it's the spring, summer, and fall in New England before they head south. First of all, they're going to be near water because they only eat fish, and they're the most incredible fishermen to watch. They have huge talons and they plunge into the water and they pluck fish out. It's truly a delightful sight to watch, right, Tony?
As somebody who studied biology and evolution, I love osprey because they're highly adapted to this one specific task. They have eyes that are like polarizing filters so they can see through the surface of the water, and their talons can grip slippery fish that other animals just wouldn't be able to grab. But they're so specialized that they can't do any hunting on land. Like I've seen them in a tree eating a fish, they drop the fish, and then they just stare at it. They can't pick it up from the ground. They cannot do anything on land.
How do you recognize an osprey from other birds flying around? Well, they're a dark brown and white bird. They have white on their chest and 2 white patches underneath each wing. So if you look up and you see that dark bird with a white chest and white patches, that's an osprey, and that's how you can make sure you won't confuse it with an eagle or a hawk.
If you see it perched, it's going to look like just a white dot in trees along the river, but it'll pretty much always be right along the river.
Here's something you should know about osprey behavior. When they catch a fish, they fly into the wind. Otherwise, the wind would be at their butts and pushing their feathers up. Another cool thing about ospreys, when they grab the fish, they turn it into the wind to make it aerodynamic. And so you'll be expecting that osprey to fly into the wind and right over you, and hopefully you have the sun behind you too, so you get them nicely lit.
You can also tell how old an osprey is by looking at the color of its eyes. When they're young, they have a very orange sort of brown color, and then as they get older, they become very yellow. You'll see from the behavior how old they are too, because the younger ones aren't very good fishermen. They'll hit the water trying to catch a fish over and over again. It can be heartbreaking when you see them miss over and over. The more mature ones, they'll hit the water once and come up with a fish.
Often they like to look for fish when the tide is going out. From high tide to low tide, they're optimal times for fishing. But I've noticed if they're people fishing, they're often osprey fishing.
They also, in my experience, they also like days that aren't windy or there are no waves. I think it might just make it easier for them to spot the fish through the surface of the water. So look for still days near low tide and position yourself upwind from where they're going to be. Also try to find a spot where the sun is going to be to your back, because if they're backlit, then you'll lose all those beautiful colors and all that contrast.
Good luck. Let's talk about your camera settings. What are you going to do? If you see a perched osprey, your shutter speed does not have to be that fast. In fact, I'd recommend just putting it into shutter priority in case you have to go from shooting a still bird to a flying bird. You can easily make your shutter speed faster. If a bird is flying, I like to go to like 1/1000th of a second. And if they're diving to catch a fish, I might go to like 1/2000th of a second to make sure I freeze that action and get that exact moment they hit the water.
If you have a sharp lens and a really high resolution sensor, you might even go faster, like 1/2500th, 1/3000th of a second, just to eliminate that blur caused by the animal's motion. Anybody can get an osprey photo, even with just a moderate telephoto lens. Just look up the location of an osprey nest and go visit it. There's probably a lot more osprey nests than you'll see there, but that's a good start.
But there are levels of osprey shots. You can get the osprey perched or the osprey in the nest. Then you want to get an osprey flying. Next, try to get an osprey flying with a fish. And I think the most challenging photo to get is an osprey mid-hunt, plunging to catch a fish.
For bonus points, get it with good lighting, maybe at sunrise or sunset. I hope this has been helpful. If you want to learn more about wildlife photography, check out our book, Stunning Digital Photography. And of course, you're also going to need to process your photos. That's a big part of it. Use our training materials for Lightroom Classic and Photoshop to get the most out of your photos. Don't forget to subscribe for a lot more free videos. Let us know your own Osprey photography tips down in the comments. Thanks.